third part tray. All right. Now we're going to get into the plasma creating diesel injection for water injection, injector for water injection, and in a different form of exhaust recirculation for gas. We'd have gas vehicles. That's right. We can make gas vehicles extremely efficient. Now, how do we do this? This one's wonderful. Let me tell you. I put in gas and air. I go bang, bang. I inject plasma with the sparks and diaphragm and electromagnetic coils. Then using a neon transformer style-esque with alternators, plasma with some grounding and so on that I need to make this rather hot, rather dense gas break down into plasma. Now, as it compresses, it gains greater and greater heats, and we can continue, which by the way, those plasma injectors are in every way going to do a seeding of plasma. They create plasma, and then they can further potentiate their plasma creation through that kind of transformer, ripping off some of those electrons. We're going to have a hold your horses, electron flow battery back to the system with that. That's actually a help. Give me a second to explain that later. Hold your horses. All right. Now, that goes up, concentrates. We're looking near the 7,000 degrees Celsius, which we don't want. Spray water. We don't want that. It's too hot. Spray water. This time. Now, water drops it from that 7,000 to around 5, but we're going to wait until after top dead center for that initial crankshaft movement for the piston to rapidly move it down. That's our new top dead center, which we spray water into, which will drastically decompose steam and create exothermic reactions with hydrogens and oxygens. Spray water again. Cool it off. Make it so it crashes out and makes the exothermic reactions stable. Now it's more dense. Now it maintains its heat as it continues to go down. Now, compress again. We have a lot of heat, mostly very stable exothermics. We're not going to do it again. We are now going to spray water. How many times am I having to tell you, just spray water? Just water into the cylinder. Water. H2O. Nothing else but water. Now we have steam. From around the 3, it's going to go to the 1800 to 1500 degrees Celsius, which is much better. Much better, but now it's much denser, quite high steam, low amounts of actual overall hydrocarbons outside of CO2. And now you know to exhaust because our cylinder walls are getting close to the limit, and we don't want that. So we're going to exhaust it. That goes into, what do you know, Ecolink header tubes with heart valve attachments and the whole turbine thing that I brought up in part 2. DOS, that also has thermal photovoltaics and thermoelectric generating materials. Woo! Ah, wow, that's so crazy. Now, this is the part trace. Look at this radiator. Does this look like a regular radiator? No. That's a basic ass bitch radiator. Why do you say it's different? Because it doesn't look the same. Hey, thank you. Yeah, no, it has thermal siphons that produce a degree of measurable heat with the expansional properties of the gas liquid in it. That makes a movement of a piezoelectric and a regular linear generator as they move, and then like a 2-stroke engine, which is a Stirling engine, moves that now expanded gas into the cooling heatsink fin that then drops it back down to be rewarmed. That makes electricity. That goes into diesel. That also goes into these engines. hold your horses, I'm not finished just yet. I said there's this ability to use this electric flow. How do I make this electric flow battery work for me? I love the glares. You see the glare? I imagine there would be glares at that point. Now, that is going to go into a electric flow battery that essentially means that we're going to separate some of the carbon from its carbon dioxide components. Some, not all. We're going to be using electrostatic carbon capture, that because of the heat that's there and the carbon that is now relatively captured, and because we have an electric flow battery, we managed to make a O2 generator. The carbon has to go into a can. There's a way to do it. Now, my way is pretty simple. I literally separate the carbon plasma in the exhaust recirculator. It goes into an exhaust recirculator. It goes through this. We blow it through. Carbon is attached because it's built for the carbon and for it to attach more readily. Now, it's really just down to charge fields and the material used. Because we have O3s, typically, that are going to crash out after they get reburnt. This is the different engine process, rather than just upgrade processes. This captures our carbon from our vehicle's hydrocarbon input, and then I basically just get rid of the carbon. I put it in my one pot. It's a bunch of carbon-rich carbon, because it's carbon that is just carbon doing carbon things like being carbon, the sixth element on the periodic table of elements. Just, I'm carbon. How many carbon times can I carbon you by saying I'm carboning my carbon over here? Because, yo, bro, I want to say carbon too many times because it annoys you. But it's a lot of carbon that is a fairly decent sized catch can, which, because there's vibrations in an engine, it shakes it off, and you can effectively just wipe it into the can with the exhaust that comes out to vibrate it, and then basically make that charged into the can, which is now your negative. So it will go there instead. With the flow battery, which is using the plasma in one cylinder and the O3 in the exhaust to make this occur, which has extra electrons to give, and this goes, I don't have any electrons. I don't. You took fuck you. Where's my electrons? Bitch. What the fuck? But the water injection, it's only 3. It's not like a diesel for 4. The exhaust recycling for this upgrade is different than that, in that because we capture those carbon plasma ions in a specific material and charge field setup, it manages to reduce dramatically the amount of overall carbon released into our atmosphere. It's going to be some. It's not all of it. Although, the better you make that, the fully you can remove all carbon from your engine, even with the diesel. So, there you go. It's a Patrice. That's why you watch this. Now, that's an upgrade, a significant upgrade that, by the way, I remove efficiency for removing that carbon. If you don't know, but I then add it in as I'm doing work to remove carbon with the engine. So it's I'm not getting work to move wheels. I'm you have fucking more than enough. Stop. Shh. I've got like 400 foot-pounds of torque, 500 goddamn horsepower to give you with this. This is stupid. Go away. Shoo. And so it's like, this is easy. Just capture some of that carbon back. Same thing with diesel injector water boy. Exhaust recirculation, all this stuff. Which is like, I have stupid amounts of torque for little fuel. Although I burn a lot of water. But like, water's, around. So I think we're going to be okay. And it's like, oh, it's up in the upper 70s now for work performed. And I'm like, yeah, well, just getting that carbon back in the 60s, maybe 50s, And so it's like, well, it's fine. I have too much torque, and I have a lot of engine RPM because of that, needing to be done fairly fast. And so like that's I don't really need to run that way. And so like now that's just a generator that makes carbon removal and efficiency gains for essentially making the excess electricity not just be for carbon, it's to run the yeah, that's right, we got to it. Electric motors. Electric damn motors. Damn it. These are just the upgrades. We have electric motors, easy, and it's like, no, let me, hey China, do you want to influence us with your fucking goddamn magnets? No, I would never, no, I'm not doing that, no. Russia is a good guy here. Fuck you, China. No, it's not. Damn bastard. Now, we're going to get into the second part, which is the upgrade engine, which is high efficiency upgrade engine, which effectively is a hybrid generator exhaust recirculator hydraulic ram crankshaft carbon removal turbine setup engine. I know, right? Right. Lots of wordy mouth stuff. But as it's described, which would be very German to describe it this way. If you don't know, the flaming waffle. It waffles the flames. Would work pretty well for that. But it is a hybrid electric engine wherein the cylinders are thermoelectric, thermophotovoltaic, ceramically coated to improve the heat, natural light generation into a IR generating material, or light emission, that is. That also is very strong and very slick as a result because of how strong and hard it happens to be, along with the coatings on the piston head. So now that gets cooled, of course, like any other coolant and the engine running through it usually tends to do. So, there you go. Now, then we still have my radiator design, which is using those micro to mini, or nano is what I wanted to use, because then I could potentiate it even greater. Stirling engines for the piezoelectrics and the nitronol wired that happens to effectively switch back and forth in like a leaf spring like fashion, and then that opens it up and then it then heats up and then closes and it opens up and heats, and you get the picture. That's kind of how it does that. But then it goes off into those heatsink fins, which are hollow, which like a vapor chamber will do. Vapor chamber for computer, parts will do for those heatsinks. Now, wonderful design. The thermal siphon means it goes to a larger area, which is a smaller. So as it expands and cools down, it's like, oh, why is it? And it's like, this is higher pressure, this is lower pressure, this is liquid. That's going to push that liquid into the bottom. That goes into a standard radiator array that then gives you your heating effect for that pressurized gas that then turns into a liquid under pressure and meaning cooled, and then it goes off into your coolant. So 3 stages there. Each one extracts a little bit more. It's kind of the point that we're trying to make with that. Now, the caveat to this is it's an opposed piston design that has a ring of valves, so it moves in a ring like a donut around a cylinder. If you don't know, it can spin. If I was married, I could show you as my ring could spin on my finger. Clearly not married though, so just letting you know. Now, as a result of that means you can open and close. And now that ring is also a particle accelerator, plasma accelerator. But it's also a coil, but it's also all these things that effectively means I can create plasma, I can fire in plasma from multiple places, all towards the center. Now, that center, which has plasma, also has this electrode, because that's kind of like a ground electrode, which makes plasma in the center, or when it's on the outside, which is plasma creating. Now, that exhaust, while coming in from one side, let's say it's the top, it's a flat. As the plasma is electrically conductive, how many times do I have to keep saying it's plasma? It's not plasma, it's plasma. It's plasma. It's freaking plasma. It's plasma. That plasma getting injected ignites fuel. It doesn't matter what anyone tells me, plasma ignites fuel. It's hot enough, it melts fuel. An arc of plasma and spark plugs is what ignites fuel. So a fuel igniter is what this is. Just so you understand that somehow, because apparently you didn't get that. I imagine somebody in the comments, it's not going to ignite the fuel, it's only plasma. And I'm like, what's a spark plug doing? Not making plasma, right? No, it goes a string of electrons. String of electrons, huh? Yeah. Some of us call that a plasma. Some of us call that a plasma, just so you know. Anyways. Those plasmas get fired at high velocities because it rotates around the ring valve and goes in. That rapidly accelerates the fuel burn. Now, that's quite hot, and then we got the blah, 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 all the rest of the stuff I've explained earlier. Then it goes into the outsides. What? The outsides? How are they sealed? They're sealed? Oh, yeah, they're sealed. Let me tell you about it. I've got this thing called a fucking crankshaft that's made of hydraulic fluid. You stupid idiot. It's not you. It's just like the very idea. It's like I was getting to it. I'm angry not at you, but at the commentator that's probably going to write pause and then go like, "No, it will never do that." And I'm like, hold your horses, I'll talk about it. A crankshaft that's fully straight is just a rod, so it can be pretty well sealed with regular freaking seals. One side is our oil, the other side is the hydraulic fluid, with a plate in the center and then 2 plates on the outside. Then we have a seal that is a hardcore seal, because we have seals that can move a piston through them and not allow for high pressure fluid, because we have hydraulic ram seals and those do exactly that. So, yeah. And that is how we seal that. Now we have oil that can return and goes to pickup and blah, blah, blah. Just fine. Doesn't really matter to me, really, realistically. I have an oil area that's like, blow it out your butt as far as I'm concerned. But now that hydraulic ram, what is that? I push fluid one way, it fills up the cavity as in pushing it there, and then I pull it by compressing it and it squishes it the same way. And so I have 2 pulses of hydraulic fluid, one from the exhaust and one from the combustion. I then make plasma. I then add in, what is this? Is this water? Is that water? It goes into the combustion area. Whoom, it opens, and I recycle the heat and pressure. Because it's straight, I can go very, 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 very high speeds. Because it's basically just a seal that can go very, 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 very high flow rates and high pressures. Because it's practically a 1-to-1 for the hydraulic ram. Now that turbine, on the other hand, that's on the other side, which is your whatever the fuck you want for like a clutch, or direct to your transmission, whatever it is, or directly to your wheels if you so choose, because the front and the rear can both have hydraulic fluid that is very pressurized and quite fastly moving, many times a second, which can then be bifurcated into your wheel turbines, which can then be changed dynamically for the blade angle. And the ones that engage, that give you a CVT-like design for your turbine, which give you a transmission in your wheels, which gives you different bites of torque or horsepower, respectively, to each individual wheel. Which now goes burr faster with carbon removal technology. Whoa!